Welcome to another edition of Whiskey Games and Nerd Stuff. Today's whiskey is actually this pre-made Long Island iced tea. I like the logo. I don't usually drink tea, but when I do, I make it a Long Island. This is from Salt Flat Spirits. These cans are, I believe it's 11% alcohol. Let's go ahead and take a drink. Those are really good. And today we're going to talk a little bit about, I did a short on this, but we're going to go over the gameplay on Almost Innocent. Almost Innocent is a cooperative deduction game of proving you're almost innocent. So let's go ahead and open the box and see what we see. All right, so here is the basic board setup. Let's go ahead and take another drink. You're going to have your game board. You'll have some what they'll call the question pieces. You'll have a little second chance token that we'll talk about. You'll have your evidence, victim, scene, and crime cards. Offenders we'll use later. And then you have a solution tracker. And then this is set up to where when you're playing, you'll put this around your particular solution so that people around the table can't see what you're writing down. We'll go ahead and put this off to the side for now because we're just doing the demo. I'm not going to have that up. So what's going to happen is, again, it's a deductive reasoning game. And the first thing you're going to do when you get this, you're going to have certain scenes. And you'll have certain scenarios that you read out. And it's suggested that you start with scenario 1 and work your way up. And as you get going, they'll be more and more complicated. This will particularly be the first one. So what will happen is you're going to, through a series of questions, you're trying to figure out the evidence of a crime, what was the victim, the scene, and what was the actual crime. So the first thing you'll do is these spaces right here, these are ones that for this first scenario are not in play. So what we're going to do is we will mark off an X on those spaces because these are not going to be possible choices for this particular scenario. And then each scenario as you go will get a little bit better. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to pick 4 cards, which I just did before we started the video. So this is going to be the solution that the person on your left is trying to solve. So I'll flip this over and I have a scam. So that's going to be in C3. So I would go to C3 and you can mark it however you want. So I'm going to do an S for solution. And this is going to be a solution for the person on my left. Then we've got the church. The church is in F1. So that'll be easier to track. And this will make more sense as we go. The victim is the mindful mage. The mindful mage is on D2. And then the evidence in this particular one is the potion. And the potion is on F2. Okay, so this is the person to our left. Now what's going to happen is the person to our left will have picked 4 of these, and that'll be the solution to the person on their left, and so on, and for as many people as that play. And you can do 2 to 5. You actually could do more, but it suggests 2 to 5. So what's going to happen is the first person will ask a question. So let's say, I'm the first person. So I'll say, how many of my solutions are in row A? So row A would be right here. So what happens is kind of the unique is I will ask out loud. So the person to my left will say, you have 1 in row A. Okay, so then I know that one of the answers for me is in row A. And you can do this however you want, but I'll do this. So I'll make a 1 here so I know that one of these squares, so one of these is going to be one of my solutions. Then what happens is everybody will answer for the person that they drew the cards for. So then on my left, I would tell them you had 0 in row A. So what they would then do is they would go ahead and mark off everything in A because they know they don't have anything in A. But we know we have something in A. So let me go ahead and take another sip. So then the next person would say, how many are in row 6? So then what you would do is to signify that a question got asked for row 6, you could put the question here. So this is row 6. So the person who has my solution would say, if I didn't have anything in row 6, you have nothing in row 6. So knowing that I have nothing in row 6, I would just go like this, because now I know there's nothing in 6, so I've got 0. And you can tell that narrowed down my choices for A as 1. Then, of course, I would tell the person that whose solution I had, you have nothing either. So the next question would get asked, and then that question could be, how many do you have any solutions in row B? So I would answer for that person, that they didn't have anything in B, and the person who had my solution would say, oh, you have nothing in B. So then I would now know that I have nothing in B and nothing in 6. So then the next question would get answered of how many are there in row, we'll call it 5. And let's say I get told you have 3. So then what's going to happen is, I'm told 3 of my solutions are in 3. So then I'm going to know that of these 4, 3 of those are mine. For my particular person, I would tell them that they didn't have any. And this goes on where in the first scenario, you're going to get a certain number of these clues. And these are questions that you can ask. How many are in row F, or the letters? How many are back and forth? What happens is you get, depending on the scenario and as you go along, you as a team, and you're not really as a team, as a cooperative experience, you only get so many of these. So what happens is when you go through the allotted questions for that particular scenario, you then have to guess. Now, you can't go from scenario 1 to scenario 2 until all the players have successfully guessed what theirs were. So, for example, let's say we go through this and we've gone through and asked all our questions. The person whose solution that I'm having says, I think mine's, my evidence is the poison. And I would flip it over and go, you're right. So then they know it's a poison. And then they would say, I think my victim is the mindful mage. And I would say, you're right. They would say, I think the scene was the church. And I would say, you're right. And they would say, I think the crime was this. Now, if they're wrong, depending on the scenario, the group table gets so many of these. Think of them as a second chance token. If they're out of these and they're wrong, everybody loses. So you kind of want to go through, they have all your questions. And the other cool thing is when I'm playing, because I know this was the person to my left solution, I know that these won't be mine because in the early scenarios, there's only going to be one of each. I really, really enjoyed this game. It was kind of straightforward and simple. It gets really cool, and they add stuff as you go along. So the characters will have certain powers. These change, and then later on, you get things where you can ask this one of these, where you can say, is my victim a person or an animal? And then you can say, is my evidence a liquid or a solid? So those are the questions you can ask for this. These are the questions you can ask in the rows. And then there's multiple scenarios. Each scenario has an easy, medium, and hard on it. And I've played this a number of times. I have yet to play this game with somebody, and they have not enjoyed this game. It's a very easy, friendly game to learn. It's kind of fun. You can make it as hard as you want. You can you're not supposed to give hints, but those first times you're kind of just like, hey, look over here. And then I've had some of these where it gets quite interesting as you get harder. You can ask fewer questions, so you're trying to, again, use that deductive reasoning of the almost innocent. I really, really liked it. So this was a really cool playthrough. I highly, highly recommend this game. Do appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Really would appreciate it if you'd like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. If you would like to see a more extensive review of this, please make a comment in the comment section. If you've played this game and you've had some experience with it, I would love, love, love to hear your experiences. And until next time, everybody, cheers.